Hey everyone, Mirai here, and welcome to the behind the scenes of the, what was it called? The Mixed Class Interact with Target Roleplay Scene. I think that's what I wanted to title this. That's a mouthful. Anyway, we try to keep this quick. I'm just going to quickly talk about some of the stuff I ran into yesterday. It took me about 7 hours to record that scene. About 7 hours from the beginning of piecing it to and building it in ISBoxer, the multi-step setup, and then executing it, seeing where I was going wrong, and making tweaks along the way, and of course then just dealing with other players, right? So I didn't realize that there must be an NPC here. Now that we're in the 8.0 pre-patch, something to do with the Teldrassil and all that. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but this wasn't happening yesterday. I did not run into this many. You see all these people flying in. This was not happening to me yesterday. If this would have been happening to me yesterday, I would have had to have moved locations and figured out another place to do this because this is just way too much traffic for my tastes. What I was running into yesterday when I was recording this was simply people would like just kind of come see what was going on, and then they would just sit there. And they would just sit there. Or they would go AFK on their mount right here, and they would just sit there. And I sent a few people messages after some time. I was like, hey, I'm trying to record this scene here, this scripted scene. Do you mind moving your mount and moving out of the way? And of course, they're completely AFK at that point. And I just had to wait it out. Multiple times, I had to just wait it out until that person just got kicked off for the AFK timer because they were in the way. Even one time, this is my camera character over here. Even one time, someone was mounted right in the perfect spot. Right in the perfect spot to be right in this camera character's vision. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So it was a lot of, there was some rage yesterday. But anyway, to say something here, this is not the first time I've done these RP scenes. Back, when was this published? 2000, just over 4 years ago, yeah. I made these gameplay and multiboxing gameplay, MMO multiboxing gameplay videos back over 4 years ago, and I've got these scenes here where I did this before. Actually, my camera's problem. It doesn't matter. You know what? I'll hide the camera. So I did this stuff before, just in this video. I did that one, and I did two in the questing one as well, where I don't know, man. I was like, you know what? I can do this. This will work. Let me try it. So I built these small little scenes with my characters, my team of 5 that I was using at the time for these videos, and it seemed to work out well. Yeah. So I really liked them, and I was like, you know what, man? I pieced together this mixed class interact with target video. I pieced it together so quickly, and I really wanted to showcase what the problem was, because sometimes your range characters do run into melee range. And, all right, so we're done with that. I don't need to show that anymore. But, completely lost my train of thought. Oh, so I wanted to show it a different way, but I was like, you know what? Let's go full RP scene, right? So here's the dealio. It's a 24-step process that I built. And I might as well I don't think I have anything, well, I do have something special in here. So I can't really just share this because it doesn't matter. I mean, you can see it here. We'll just go over it. But I created a bunch of text macros for the paladin, all his lines. And then, of course, the priest just has 2 lines. Let me move this over. Let me make this a little bit there. Okay. Now, my camera should not be in the way. Anyway. Yeah, and then I've got some emotes and some other stuff like clear targets and target training dummy and stuff like that. Stuff that I slowly built in because I scripted out the scene. I don't have the script up anymore, but I scripted out the scene the night before, and then I was like, okay, so we're going to record this today. And it was a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun. It's such a pain in the ass, though. It's very time-consuming. I took actually 9 good, air quotes, good takes that I would have kept, but over the course of this, I started building more stuff in. So this is my camera character. She's got, let's see here. So this is the camera we start at. And when I first was recording this, I didn't do the camera zoom like this. I didn't do the camera zoom. And I was all the way out here, and I'm looking at the first few takes that I recorded. I'm like, man, I should probably zoom in on these characters so that you can better see what they're saying. Because honestly, I'm not super happy with the location. I wish I could have done this somewhere else because the colors here, they don't really seem to work well. I wish I'd done something in more of a brighter area, but I was here, I set it up for here, and I was like, we're just going to do this here. So, right. But the thing on the camera character is obviously when I record it, all of her UI is gone, but you cannot just hide your UI because then you don't see chat bubbles. So I had to make a macro that took using if you just type like /fstack, you can see what all these frames are called. And I made a macro here. It's on our action bar that if I click this, it's going to hide everything of importance here. And of course I can, I'm pretty sure this was not part of the scene. So maybe I hid this as well. I don't know why this is here now. I don't think that was here though. I hope that wasn't there. Anyway, yeah, so this is what we had, but of course then you can still see the character, right? So there's a fancy little console command called show player. It used to take a 1 or a 0, so show player 0 would be don't show the player, and show player 1 would be yes, show the player. But now it's just a toggle. You can just type /console space show player, and they go away. So if you want to play a trick on your friend, type /console space show player, and then be like, hey buddy, try to play. And their character will be absolutely invisible. Even after a reload of the UI. But if you log out and you log back in, your character's back. So it's not like a full-on trick. But yeah, so I mean, this is where the scene took place, right here. But if we, right, the other problem I was running into was that this I didn't know when I scripted this out, and I didn't remember it. I don't know if it's something that I remembered from a problem that I ran into before when I did these other RP scenes. And the problem is that, first of all, if you do /say, everyone can see it, right? And that's fine. I'm in actually a 6-man raid party. However, /say, they do hand gestures when you do /say. And if you end your sentence in an exclamation point, they do another angry or kind of an excited move instead of just their standard basic chat motions /say motions. So what I was running into was that the /say chat motions, they override the emotes. So you can't have your character laugh and go, ha, 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 ha. And he does the laughing, emote. Instead, if you would laugh and then say something like, in here I say, oh, she's wearing cloth and she wants to be up front, in reference to the priest wanting to be in melee range. And I would say that, and then right away he would laugh for 1 frame or so, and then he would just go back to doing his say chat motions. I was like, what the fuck? What? Why does that override that? The priest would cry, and then she would say, or does she say something right there? I don't know. Oh, when the paladin points, he says, back with the mage, and he points, and he points he just lifts his hand up, and then all of a sudden he goes back to doing the chat, the /say motions with this the basic chat. I was like, how the fuck? What? This is not what I wanted. I was like, why do the chat, the /say chat motions override everything else? So I had to move this into party chat, and in party chat they don't move their hands when they talk then. But then I had to change the colors of the chat bubbles because the priest still says but. When she says but with the exclamation point, I wanted her to do that angry emote because that's what they do when you end your sentence in an exclamation point and you're using /say. And I wanted her to do that angry emote, so I had to keep her in /say for that one particular line there. But here, if we come back to wherever the hell we were, over here. So, right, so it's 24 steps. I have to press the key 24 times, and you have to find a rhythm. In the beginning, my rhythm was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's what it came down to. And I had to keep this rhythm, and if it didn't fall right in place, everything was kind of off by a little bit. And I was like, ah. And what I was running into is that the paladin and the priest were getting too close to each other. Like I was hitting the buttons at a bad interval, and the priest and the paladin would get too close to each other. Not really problematic, except when you're trying to read chat bubbles. if one's, the chat bubbles are overlapping each other, and that's just, it's not a huge deal. Like, I could have lived with it, and in a future RP scene that I make, I'm sure I will live with it, and it'll be fine. It's just something that maybe you have to space out the chat a little bit more so people have a chance to read what's there before you say it with the next character, which then their chat bubble is going to overlap partially with the character that spoke last. So that was a little, I wanted to make sure that they were separated enough. Yeah, so the first step here is we just send H to the paladin. That's interact. Every melee character's click to move is turned on. This has nothing to do with like this, because it's built in the same profile that I used for the mixed class interact video. It has nothing to do, right? It's just, this is completely separate from any of that. So everybody just has click to move turned on who needs to have it turned on. And so I interact with the paladin first. He charges in, right? And then he says, charge, in his, and then right after that, I send T to the melee characters, which is on the shaman, it's feral lunge. On the warrior, it's charge. And then I send 2 to the mage, who's slot number 4, so that she can start casting Frostbolt. I wanted to put more stuff in there, but I wasn't sure if she was going to get it off on time. What I had done in the very beginning was that I put her Frostbolt on a separate key press on my mouse. And what I'm finding is I don't know, maybe I'm rhythmically challenged here, but I couldn't keep the rhythm on my keyboard hand while trying to, I was always forgetting. I was either forgetting about the Frostbolt and I was not sending it. I was like, God damn it. Or I was sending it and it was messing up my timing on my left hand. So I don't know what that deal with that is. I'd like to pretend that I'm somewhat rhythmically inclined, but for this I was not. So here's where we do, the priest follows the paladin, so she does a follow. See, it's not a real situation because priests don't actually run into melee range when you use interact. They'll run into their casting range and then they'll stop, but they don't run into melee range. But this is the team I've got. I don't know. There's some classes that do that, some specs that do that. So I'm not sure I have that spec available to me. And I wasn't about to go through all my characters trying to figure it out. So this is the team I've always used for a lot of stuff. So I just wanted to stick with this team. So even though the video shows the priest runs into melee range, she doesn't actually. The class does not actually run into melee range if you use interact with target. So, right, so she had to follow the paladin. She followed the paladin. We sent another Frostbolt with the mage. And then the next press is the paladin saying, wait. And this is where things got a little complicated because several characters had to be doing something at the same time. So at this point, the priest stops. We send the D key, which is, I use ESDF to move, so D is my backwards key. So I just tap that, I send it to her, and she stops running in. And then I clear target on everyone except the mage. And then I send the backslash command to my paladin. The backslash key on my characters is the walk toggle, walk run toggle. That's something I just have set. I've had that set for years on all of my characters. So I don't like numlock. I don't like numlock being my toggle for run. I like numlock to stay on all the time. I put my toggle somewhere else. So then the next step is the paladin follows the priest. That's how he walks up to her. And then the melee characters, the shaman and the warrior, also follow the paladin as he's walking away. Now, this is where timing was crucial. This is why it went 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or I went 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pretty quickly. It was much quicker to move through 6 through 10 than it was any of the other steps, because the deal with the following of the melee characters for the paladin, they need to turn. I wanted them to turn and face the people who were speaking as if they were paying attention to what was going on, right? I didn't want them to just keep staring at the target dummy, like, duh. So, I mean, it's just a little extra thing in there that I had to get right. So this is where the melee characters follow the paladin. And then right in the next move, in the next step, they also get sent the step backwards key. So they break follow right then and there. They turn fast enough and then they break follow immediately. I was running into problems with timing, though, in that, and several of the takes where they would take a step forward. I was like, damn it, no, just turn and stop. And then, of course, the paladin says, timeout, wait, timeout. The camera zooms in here at this point. This is something that was new. I think I just mentioned this at the beginning, is that I didn't have the zoom in, zoom out at first, and I was like, we need to zoom in because it's easier to see what they're saying. And then he says, stop. Oh, I know he doesn't say anything. He stops himself. He stops himself. And that's where this ends. The 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that needs to move pretty quickly ends. And I needed to hit 10 at the right spot so that, again, they weren't too close together. I didn't want their chat bubbles overlapping, and I wanted them to have enough space between each other. Were they a little far apart? They probably could have been slightly closer, but obviously, I mean, it's not like they're an unbelievable distance apart from each other where they're talking. You know, they're within hearing range of each other. And then he says, you know, what are you doing? She says, I'm trying to get in on the action. He said, he does a no emote, you know, and he says, I don't think so. This is where she yells, you know, but, and she does a little, this is where she does the say. Everything else is in party, but this is where she does say, simply so she acts out the anger, you know, like the but I wanted to be in melee range, right? And he's like, but nothing, you know. And then he does a point emote. He goes, you know, back with the mage. And then she does cry emote. And that was something I was missing timing on as well because I was going fast from 6 to 10. And then I knew that 11, 12, 13, 14, I knew that the next few steps were slow enough to where they had to say something. The chat would pop up. They would say something. And I was constantly at this point, I must have gotten too comfortable from 11 to 15 because I hit 15 and then I would forget that 16 was the cry emote. And I wanted him to say but nothing and then her to cry pretty shortly after that, not right at the same time that he said but nothing. I wanted it to be more believable where he would say it, she would hear it, and then she'd cry. If I put him in the same step, she cries immediately. When he says it, it's not really believable, in my opinion. You know, these are the fine-tuned things. This is the little tweaks that I was making throughout all this. 7 hours, man. I was totally done. I was totally done at the end of this. I was pissed. 7 hours. And then he said this is where he points back with the mage. Oh, yeah, and then she cries here. That's what I had to get the timing down. And then he says he does a clap emote. You hop 2. And then she toggles from run to walk as well. That could happen at any point in an earlier step, but I just toggled it here. And then she cries again. He says chop, chop. And she follows the mage. The mage is actually off camera, obviously. And so she uses the mage as the anchor point to move back out of the scene. What I had wanted to originally do when I was first sitting down and thinking about this, I almost wanted to do like multiple camera angles. I was about to log in because I've got a 6-character set here. I was about to log in 4 more characters. 4 more characters, just if I could find some rogues that I could like make invisible so they weren't in the scene, so that they could act as anchor points. I kind of wanted a wider shot so that it would show that all the characters start like in one place and the mage would be in the shot. Because for me, the mage being out of the shot is a little... I don't really like it. I would have liked to have done it a different way, which is I should have probably used a 7th character as an anchor for the priest, but I didn't, and I had this set up, and I'm trying to get the timing down. I'm trying to fight people who are sitting in the fucking camera view with their mounts, and I'm like, we're not changing any of this, right? But I did start with about 19 steps, so over the course of this, I did expand to 24 steps on this when I realized that I wanted more, or I needed to break some things up, because some things, I did have some steps that had like maybe like 6 actions in them at times, and it was too much stuff going on. Not that the game couldn't handle it, but it was just, the scene wasn't flowing right, so... This is, of course, the next step. He laughs. He says, wearing cloth, and she wants to be up front. I send the end key to my camera character, which is, of course, then to cycle the camera back out. Looking at this again, I kind of wish maybe I had done a the camera pull out maybe another step or two, something like when he says "all right" from the top in step 22. So. She does cry again because I wanted to make sure that she was crying all the way out of the scene there. And he says, not in my group. And then he says, all right, from the top. And then here's where we target the training dummy again because we cleared target. I cleared target simply because so the characters wouldn't stay in their fighting stance. I wanted them out of their fighting stance. I wanted them in an idle standing stance so that the warrior and the shaman were definitely just standing there and listening, not like they were ready to fight someone, right? So we send interact. This is for the paladin though. Paladin targets the training dummy that's right behind him. I just got lucky because when you do a /target training dummy, you can pick up any of these training dummies, right? And you just happen to pick up the one obviously that's closest to you, so it just kind of worked out that way. I was worried that I was worried that it was going to pick up a random training dummy and he was going to walk off in the wrong direction. I was like, I hope that doesn't happen because there's no way to hard code that in. Again, if you needed something like that, this is where an additional character off screen with the correct target already set, then the paladin, if he was selecting the wrong target, could have then assisted that character, picked up the correct target, and then interacted again, right? So then we send interact, he turns around, he says from the top, and of course I start casting with the mage at that point because I wanted her frostbolt to definitely hit when the others started attacking, so I got her to begin casting slightly before I then target the training dummy with the rest of the melee characters and then interact with the rest of the melee characters so that everyone starts fighting again. The only thing I kind of wish I kind of changed a little bit is I wanted the paladin. I didn't realize he was going to stay so far back from the training dummy. He looks kind of weird. But I should have probably set something, maybe another key on my mouse where I could have held it down and helped him walk forward maybe a few more steps so that he was like right up on the training dummy. Not a huge deal. I think it came out well. I think it came out well. So that's that. I don't really want to go through it at this point. Maybe we can wake everyone up. We'll try to go through it real fast. So again, her UI is most of the things are hidden. You can see that oh, you can't see it. Well, here, I'll hide the camera for a second. You can see that the tooltip is still there, right? So the tooltip, I turn on key maps, and then we, the other thing is that you can see right at the edge of the frame, the warrior is there. The warrior is there. And this was tricky. This was another problem I ran into on the warrior because I wanted her to be able to charge in. And she is at the absolute borderline for charge working. Right now, she's out of charge range. And that was becoming a problem. What I was doing was I was then interacting with her along with the paladin. But she was further back because interact works way back here, right? Interact works a long ways away. So I was interacting with her with the paladin and her at the same time, and it just wasn't working out. Man, it was so clunky because I didn't have an actual spot for her to stand, not a good spot at all, because sometimes she would enter the frame with the paladin before she charged. Other times when I hit the charge key, when I get to the next step, she was still too far away to charge, and then she would end up walking to the target, and that was not working. I wanted the melee characters to charge in. When he says charge, I wanted them to charge in and make that happen. So this is where this is tricky, where she had to be right on the borderline of charge, but she's still in the scene right now. That's maybe, I honestly don't know how I did this. Did I move these characters? I may have moved these characters. So we'll just live with it. Obviously, if you watch the actual role-play scene play out, she's not in the frame. And that's something I was really struggling with because it's easy to put the shaman down here if you, I guess you can't see that. I'm actually recording. I'm recording in 4K. I have all my screens up. I can see everything, but you guys are only watching this in 1440. So actually, I don't need to do any of that. So key maps are on. We'll just try this. So everyone's got the training dummy targeted right now. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. There's charge. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There it is. And then there it is. Right? What are you doing, priest? You're just trying to get in on the action.
No.
And she says, I don't think so. It's too dangerous up front. She says, but nothing. Back with the mage. She cries. Hop 2. Chop, chop. Good stuff, man. I got it pretty good. And then that's it, man. That is it. Fantastic. Well, but it was only that easy in the 7 hours I was trying to record yesterday. Good Lord. But like I said, we went through many iterations, and it did take me a few hours to build it all in there and make sure that things were tight and working well. And once I had that played out, then I had to put the camera character and figure out where in the camera I wanted everything, and then the zoom in and zoom out with this action here. So that's it, man. That's it. That was exciting. But see, now I'm moving this character, and she's there. Okay. That's another thing I did several times, being on the camera character, and then wanting to put everyone back into position, I start moving her, and I was like, oh, fuck, I can't tell you how many times I did that as well. So I kept forgetting to move back here, and of course, he still has walk on, but I have a key map that resets Everyone's walk. So there we go. So that's that. That is I think that's everything I want to talk about. Nothing too special. Nothing too cool. I mean, I guess it is kind of interesting. But this is something that, like, I've had people that are on role-playing servers, like, try to tell me that multiboxers have absolutely no business being on a role-play server. And all the other noises that they make. Well, I strongly disagree. And I think multiboxers can add a ton with scripted events like this. This is something, I mean, you could, as a role player on one of the role-playing servers, you could fill out, if you had 10 people playing 5 characters each, instead of just having 10 people at your event, you can now have 50. You can now have 50 people at your event. Even if you're just multiboxing trials up to level 20, right? You could still bring a bunch of people. You could still script all those, if you could run a bunch of characters on your computer, you could probably bring a whole 50 yourself. I wouldn't, maybe just 40. Just bring a full raid, because you might have phasing problems. That's what I was running into here, is that I was in a party of 5 with just my main, and the camera character was not in the party along with everyone else. And so all of a sudden, during one of the takes, everyone phased out. I was like, what the fuck just happened? So I had to make it a raid and put her into the raid. And then the other thing I ran into here, this is funny, right? Is that the raid frames, when you're speaking in party chat, only that group can see what you're saying. So that's another limitation. So this is something you may need to watch out for if you do want to do a roleplay scene with a lot of characters, because unless you're using say, if you're going to stick with group chat, only that group can see that /party. And I don't think there are chat bubbles. Maybe there are, but I don't think there are chat bubbles for raid chat. I could be wrong on that. Maybe I didn't see it, but I do have all chat bubbles turned on. Maybe it's a hidden console variable somewhere that'll allow you to turn on chat bubbles for raid chat, but it's not built into just the basic UI. Whether an add-on could enable something like that, I don't know, because chat bubbles are 3D world stuff. So usually add-ons can't mess with 3D world stuff other than just kind of skinning it. And so the problem I was running into was that the camera character was not seeing the party chat. I was like, what the fuck's going on? How come she can't see the party chat? I'm like, is my UI toggled off? No. And I was puzzled. I was like, oh, she's got to be in the group. So I move her into the group, and I accidentally moved the priest out. And then I go through the scene again, and all of a sudden the priest says, I'm just trying to get in on the action. And that doesn't show up on the camera character. I'm racking my brain. I'm like, why am I so dumb? Well, just put everyone who needs to say something and needs to hear people say something into the same party, please. So that was something I ran into. But I mean, yeah, I strongly disagree when it comes to multiboxers in a role-playing environment. They're worth so much. They're worth so much in a scripted role-playing environment. Are you kidding me? Or just, get your characters, multibox up, and get them up to a level where they can get transmogs, and then you can just make guards, and you can make whatever else fills the roles for what needs to be filled, whether it's guards or just members of the audience or something. I mean, you could fill things out, very easily as a multiboxer. You don't have to. I know that everyone sees multiboxers as there's these PvP assholes, but I don't. I just try to think beyond that small little tiny box you're in, man. Just try to think beyond that. So this is something I just wanted to show off. It is been another long fucking video. Anyway, I'm just going to end it here. Lots of fun in multiboxing. This is beyond any sort of PvE, PvP stuff. This is just playing around, having fun. It's a lot of fun to build these scenes. Frustrating sometimes to get the timing down, but it is what it is. If you're a role player or someone who finds this enjoyable, try it out. See if you can script your own scenes and whatnot. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Again, my name is Mirai, and I will see you all in the next video.